What's good, y'all? I'm so hyped to talk about my favorite, or one of my favorite Regis, Regidrago. So I've made some really cool buffs and changes to them in my ROM hack. But before I get into explaining my thought process behind all the ability choices and the stat tweaks, and most importantly, the move changes, of which are, I mean, a significant portion of this entire game and the way it plays, I want to have a quick disclaimer. First of all, is regarding the moves. When you're done with the video, I recommend you look at the Google Sheet link down below. Don't click off yet because it'll mess up the watch time, but if you check out the link down below after the video, you can click on this Google Sheet and look at all of the move categories. I've organized it all super thoroughly so you can all understand the move changes in the game much easier. It's pretty easy to actually grasp everything once you just click on the categories and okay, this all these moves all do this thing, et cetera, et cetera. It's pretty easy to understand once you get to that. Um, but yeah, moves are super critical for how all the Pokemon in a game function now. And then also all the other stuff linked down below in the description as well. Most importantly, outside of the Google Sheet, I would say is the bullet point list. I have kind of explaining the philosophy behind the ROM hack. So if you're new here and you haven't ever seen my videos before, first of all, shout out to you. I appreciate you making it. Even if it's only 1 minute in, I do appreciate it because I know a lot of people will click off after like 30 fucking seconds. So I do appreciate you if you made it to this point. Let me know in the comments down below if you did. Um, it's good for me to know who makes it to this, who makes it to the end. Yeah, and even if you're a returning viewer, I appreciate all you guys coming back. Make sure y'all drop a like, sub if you haven't already. It helps with the algorithm, helps get my channel out to more people, and support my work. So yeah, with all that being said, Regidrago, super, super cool. Both Regidrago and Regieleki have the ability Energy Shield now, which gives them both great utility. It also makes up for the fact that Regidrago's HP is dropped. Um, he is still much, much, much bulkier because 150 with 60, 60 bulk. First of all, that's already solid enough, right? Because in an in-game context, if you want to run a bulky Regidrago, excuse me, if you want to run a bulky Regidrago, you can just slap on max defense EVs, and you'll tank hits for days regardless because that HP is so big. But even without that, um, the energy shield allows you to take so many hits you wouldn't otherwise be able to take, and you have recovery moves in the form of recover and arcane fangs. I think arcane fangs is super super cool with energy shield because it lets you kind of replenish your energy shield back and deal damage at the same time. So that's really fun. And then obviously Dragon's Maw is good old reliable. So this thing in a competitive setting is like absurdly powerful, right? Because it has even more coverage now, and it's just so fucking strong. Because the difference from 100 base to 125 base with Dragon's Maw is insane, because unlike Transistor, Dragon's Maw didn't actually get nerfed. It's still a 50% boost. So 125 base with a 50% boost to your stab is 2.25, right? Of course, there are other Pokemon in this game that have a 50% boosting ability, but a lot of them are restricted in certain ways. Like Ruthless, for example, a lot of those high base power moves with Ruthless can't be used twice in a row for the most part. Or Sharpness, similar deal. So you can't spam it with like Choice Scarf. Meanwhile, with Regidrago, Dragon Energy has no drawback in regards to spam ability, so you can just click that for days. Even Draconic Beam and Dragon Hammer and all these other moves, which I'll get into in a second, um, they're much more spammable than other strong base power moves. Because yes, there are tons of Pokemon with higher base attack and special attack in this hack that have boosting abilities that are stronger than Dragon's Maw or as strong as Dragon's Maw, and they're also faster Pokemon that are stronger than Regidrago. So it's not like he's the strongest thing on the planet, but just the fact that his moves are so spammable is really fun, and it's such a fun, stupid Pokemon. I love Regidrago, man. He's so cool. And I really do like the utility that Energy Shield provides. And then Levitate is just a nice ability that you can choose between. I was gonna say pick, and I said chick. That you can pick to use whenever you need it. So essentially, I mean, Regidrago is constantly floating in its animations, so that was really the only other option I could pick for an ability that isn't redundant, because Energy Shield already covers the defensive aspect and Dragon's Maw already covers the offensive aspect. So there wasn't really much to pick from. I was considering Dazzling because he's still like kind of a glowing ball, but then it would match Regieleki better. But I figured Levitate is nice, and probably I don't know. I just think it's cool. So it's nice to have that ground immunity. Um, it's just good. It's just good to have that at all times whenever you need to use it. But yeah, now for the cool stuff, which is the moves. So 125 base, obviously very strong. 80 speed. The only way you have to boost your speed is Dragon Dance. Oh, Dragon Dance isn't listed here. It's cropped out by accident. There we go. That's awkward. Hopefully nobody. Oh yeah, I guess if you looked at the beginning of the video and you didn't see any Dragon Dance, that's why. It's because it was cropped out. um, it does get Dragon Dance still, which is pretty good with Energy Shield. Even you don't even need Dragon's Maw half the time, but it's good with Energy Shield. Scale Shot is heavily nerfed. Well, it's buffed and that's at 100% accurate, which means you don't have to run Wide Lens with it in an in-game context. You should be running Wide Lens to use inaccurate moves, but it's nerfed in the sense that it's a lot weaker because I don't want a multi-hit move that also boosts your speed at the same time. That's pretty broken for sweeping. Um, so Scale Shot with loaded dice is 60 base power guaranteed because it's 15 base power now. However, that's still pretty good. I mean, it's a 60 base power Dragon's Maw boosted move. You click that once to finish something off with loaded dice, or even without loaded dice, you could just go raw Scale Shot. That's 30 base power, which is weak, but if you're putting something in range and then you're slow pivoting into your Regidrago, you can click Scale Shot, finish them off, get the kill, and then you get +1 speed, and then you can outspeed the next Pokemon and go for whatever move you want to go for versus them. And then if there are the occasional Steel or Fairy type, which are not going to be on every boss fight. That's another thing you need to keep in mind. It's not competitive where every single boss has a fairy or every single, team you're fighting for has a fairy or whatever for the most part. There's some boss fights there won't be a single steel or fairy type. So in that case, you go even harder. But even if there is a steel or fairy type, you can have to switch out, or you can use one of your many coverage moves that you now have access to. You still have your good old like Earthquake, Earth Power, which they got in new gens, in Gen 9. But I also give them access to like Flash Cannon, Heavy Slam, Hard Press, Laceration, all these steel moves, which I think make perfect sense. Obviously, I'm assuming they didn't give it to him for balance reasons in a competitive context, but in an in-game ROM hack context where everything is reworked, it's totally fine for this guy to have coverage. It's not like he's fucking Regilucky with 200 base speed, So, totally fine. Fun, to give him cool fitting coverage moves. All the Regis have Aura Sphere. Eternal Beam is really cool. Obviously, it seems weird because he's like kind of the opposite of a fairy, but if you read the description for Eternal Beam, it's kind of just like a life force energy, which Regidrago certainly does have. That's literally what Dragon Energy is. So I think it's a cool move. I think it'd also be cool if you got like Terra Fairy or something. But anyway, it's pretty useless coverage-wise, honestly. It's like maybe some niche like dual types. I lied. It's not useless. It hits fighting and stuff and dark. That's totally not useless. I lied. But Dragon's Maw, I mean, with Energy Shield, you can abuse it because it is like coverage that doesn't necessitate Dragon's Maw to get damage off. You can just hit things super effectively. Anyway, enough about that specific move. I just wanted to clarify why I chose it because some people might find it weird. Everything else seems pretty self-explanatory in terms of flavor, I think, in regards to coverage. Tons of good ones on screen that you can look at. Yeah, those are really fun. But as for the actual dragon stabs, so you have Twister for priority. That's just good old special 45 base power priority. And that's really strong with Dragon's Maw. You can even just like slap on a Specs and just get some kills. If you put things in range for it, you can switch around and then click Twister, They also do have a good utility with Teleport for a slow pivot, which is nice with Energy Shield especially. So you can use this thing as like a great defensive utility pivot, whatever, depending on the boss fight. He's very versatile, right? One boss fight you might want to run like a Scarf set, the next one you might want to run like a Eject Button Energy Shield or Teleport Energy Shield to enable one of your teammates, or Energy Shield Scale Shot, whatever you want to do, all types of fun ways, or Levitate just to counter a specific Pokemon, or switch in and not take any damage, or whatever it may be. Meteor Beam is also really strong on him. That's really fun with Scale Shot or Dragon Dance or whatever. Yeah, so as for the actual Dragon Stabs, you've got your Arcane Fangs, which already, as it says on screen, is 85 power, basically physical. It's basically Drain Punch, but it's a little bit stronger and it's Dragon type. Dragon Claw is a guaranteed crit if you hold a Scope Lens, making it 120 power, so that's pretty great. Although he's kind of slow, so at the point you get him at, you say you get him at level 45, right? Dragon Rush is 100 power, 100 accuracy, so if you run like a boosting item with Dragon Rush, it's kind of the same thing as Scope Lens. Dragon Claw, in fact, Dragon Fang is actually buffed. That's another cool thing I didn't mention yet. Dragon Fang is buffed to a 30% boost now for free. Same with Silver Powder, so I think that's pretty cool for dragons and bugs. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Although, I mean, I guess it's not really a big deal because you can always use choice items and whatever. And I feel like a lot of the time, if you're not running him defensively, or like you're not using it to one-shot a very bulky, slow Pokemon on the opponent's team that you need to one-shot for whatever reason, then you're probably going to be using Scarf on him or Quick Claw most of the time. Quick Claw is a single-use consumable item now, so that's definitely worth keeping in mind. With item claws, maybe you'll run. Number one, Scarf. Well, it outspeeds pretty much everything, but not everything, like if you put a neutral nature on this guy, you're hitting 372, which is like 120. So anything above 120 speed, you need to run Quick Claw to outspeed, unless you get a lucky plus speed nature Regidrago. Then you're going crazy, but that's only if you get lucky. 20% of the time you're getting a plus speed nature. Then you go absolutely crazy with that Scarf. But regardless, then you'll need to use Quick Claw to outspeed things, which is only a one-time use, while Scarf, of course, works for the whole battle. But Quick Claw is still very good. Quick Claw also allows you to run other, like energy shield, max HP, switch in, and then quick claw from there. Um, so that's all fun. And then you've got your Dragon Ascent and Draco Meteor, which are Dragon Ascent is essentially physical Draco Meteor. So those are both 140 power, 100% accurate moves, incredible nukes, right? Eject Pack, Dragon's Maw, or Energy Shield, plus those two moves goes insanely hard. You can blow something up and then position for the next Pokemon coming in. That's very, very good. Dragon Pulse, Dragon Rush are both consistent 100 power, 100 accuracy, no drawback there. Draconic Beam and Dragon Hammer are both recoil moves. They both deal 30% recoil to you, and they're 120 power, so they're even stronger than Dragon Pulse and Dragon Rush. So like Scarf, Dragon Hammer, and Scarf Draconic Beam, insanely strong with Dragon's Maw. You can definitely get a couple kills in a row with that. And then Dragon Energy is Dragon Energy, man. I don't know what else to say. It's insanely powerful. And Levitate helps you keep your Dragon Energy full power if you do want a hard switch. But of course, you can always just slow pivot with your Regidrago with one of your other allies. You can use an eject button, which is a single-use consumable. Again, the reason I have to clarify that if you're new here is because in Sweltering Sun it isn't single use. It's infinite use throughout the whole battle. But anyway, yeah, the eject button is obviously great. With this guy, you can switch him in easier and get your Dragon Energy full power and just one-shot everything that doesn't resist it. So, yeah, that's fun. Fun Pokemon. I love Regidrago. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. There's other coverage moves I didn't list in this video because you can just look at the screen and see them all. So, I appreciate you all. If you made it to the end, drop a comment. I guess I can quickly touch on Power Glow and Ancient Force. Power Glow is really good with Twister specifically. I would say that's the main use of it is Twister spam, because Dragon's Maw with +3 special attack Twister is very, very, very strong. You could even use like Weakness Policy Power Glow, and then you get +5. You can use Dragon's Maw for even more, or at that point you would just use Energy Shield, right? And get +5 special attack on like a strong Ice or Fairy move or whatever, or even Dragon move, and then you go for Twister and you just go crazy with those priority, with that priority. You also get Swift, so I guess if you got like Terra Normal, you could kind of use that as like a secondary priority stab, but a bit of a niche thing. And obviously First Impression is nice once in a while to teach. What else is there? I think that's pretty much it, man. And then I guess Ancient Force has good coverage if you need a specific coverage move, but the downside is that you can't use a held item with that, so you can't use Scarf, you can't use a boosting item, whatever it is. So I would say it's only good to kill slower, bulkier Pokemon that you can't kill otherwise for whatever reason on your team. And you already have good coverage anyway, so Ancient Force is a bit more niche on Regidrago. It's not useless or anything, it's still good, it's just not as crazy as it is on like Regieleki, for example. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll be back for more coming up, y'all. Peace.